from underneath. And I ended up going, and this is where I think there's probably a little bit of, well, certainly when I was there, lack of protection for the lads that are playing, because when I got released, I went on trial with Cambridge and then to Scarborough, and all of a sudden I found myself getting on trains at Leeds and York, Leeds to York, York to Peterborough connected to Cambridge. I mean, I was 18 and I'm travelling around England on my own. Then up north, that was down to Cambridge, and then equally up to Scarborough to play reserve games. I just felt together. They were 4th division teams, clubs, whereas Leeds was Premiership, and I was like, this isn't for me. And that's the difficult part, because, you know, on one hand, you don't want the football dream to die. You know, you speak to people back home, you know, particularly my parents, and my dad would have been like, oh, you know, don't give up, give it a go, give it another shot, go somewhere else. I guess because my height was always a restriction for me as a goalkeeper, I had that in the back of my mind, and I hated football, if I'm honest, at the end of it. And then I decided to come home. I signed for Shells.
Wow.
Yeah, good lad. And if you remember, Alan Goff would have been first choice. And when I was 18, 19, Goff was probably 30, 31 then. So he was, you know, an established professional. I was, you know, an up-and-coming goalkeeper. So Goffey was always going to be first choice. And Damien Richardson was the manager. And Damien said that to me, you know, we'll be on the bench. Yourself and Stephen O'Brien will battle it out pretty much. Goffey's first choice. And then the opportunity to go to Cove Ramblers came up, who were first division, but they needed a goalkeeper. So we agreed that I would continue to train with Chelsea and travel at the weekends to play for Cove. And then I did that basically for that season. And we started off quite well with Cove. We beat Waterford in the opening game of the League Cup 5-0. Then we beat Kilkenny, who were Premiership, and Waterford were Premiership as well. Beat Kilkenny 1-0, and then we in Buckley Park, and then we drew 1-0 with Cork in the Cork Derby in St Colman's. I think we got to the semi-final of the League Cup that year, but our league form kind of dipped, and we started to lose, concede late goals, and by Christmas I picked up an injury. I was out of the squad and out of contention, and then the start of the next year, kind of into January, February, March, I'd had Bray Wanderers had spoken to me through Pat Devlin, because back then there was no, you know, you could sign at any point in the season. It was, you know, people could talk to who you like. And I was kind of all set to go to Bray Wanderers at, you know, the start of the next season, and then Westlife happened, so that all changed.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to the Westlife part in a little bit, but at that point you've represented obviously Ireland from underage the whole way up. Obviously your dream then was to play for Ireland, and you said there that you fell out in love with football, which happens to so many players that go to England and come back. They end up hating it. What was it that gave you that kind of that love back? I know, because I know you have a son now who's playing underage League of Ireland now and doing quite well.
It took a long time actually, because I think when I came home, and again it might be different now to be honest, but when I came home, I've gone from a Premiership club, you're working to get there, and even though the real hard work starts then I came home. League of Ireland was semi-professional. There was a couple of pro starting, you know, the likes of Shells, Shamrock Rovers. We're starting to look, Pats maybe, we're starting to look at pro, you know, to try and go pro. But the rest of the clubs were semi-pro. I mean, so Cove Ramblers were, you know, absolutely, you know, semi-pro and etc. So you couldn't afford a living on playing professional or playing semi-pro football without having a job as well. So plus the training side of it, you know, you weren't training even at Shells. We were training, I think, 3 nights a week. It wasn't full time, and there's no doubt about it. You dip in form. You can't compete at a professional level if you're not training at a professional level. So certainly the love had died for me. I was back home, and you know, I hooked back up with my friends. I was going back to do my leaving cert. And football, although I'd applied for the Guards, I'd done the aptitude test after the leaving cert to go to the Guards, and I'd gotten that, and I was due to wait for the Guards to be called up, and I kind of thought, well, semi-pro football in Ireland and being a member of the Guards would be a decent living and a good living, and etc. So that obviously changed when Westlife auditions happened, but even for the next, I got into Westlife pretty quickly after that, and I totally just forgot about football. And it sounds strange to say, but because I'd literally played all my life to that point. But I didn't want to play it anymore. I didn't care about it, even though I was a Man United fan and I would always look out for Leeds as well. I didn't care about it. A funny story, about 3 years after that, I'd say about 3. I was in a pub one day, and Wesley had gone, to do what we did. We were pretty successful at the time. And I was home for one kind of random weekend, and I was out with the lads, some of my friends, and we were watching a Premiership game, and Paul Ince was playing for Liverpool. And I remember looking at the screen and looking at the lads going, when did Paul Ince sign for Liverpool? I couldn't believe it, because obviously Ince had been at United, and then he'd gone on, whoever he'd gone on from United, pre-Liverpool, there was somebody in between, obviously. And I was like, when? So it just goes to show my mind had totally gone to music, and I've been travelling the world for 3 years, and I wasn't even paying attention to what was going on at even the Premiership level,
Yeah, but see the way you spoke about all the things that you've done, like, and I look at, is there anything that you're actually bad at? Because you're a singer, presenter, footballer, could have been a guard, there's the presented shows. Is there anything that you're bad at?
I'm bad at them all. I just get away with them all. I'm bad at styling my hair. I'm not great at either. And I think. Well,
the women in the comments seem to like it. So.
That's what. I think I'm quite an ambitious person. I'm quite hard working. So if I do put my mind to something, like, I don't really take on things that I don't enjoy. Like, I always had a passion for radio. That didn't happen by accident after Westlife ended. My dad was a singer in a cabaret band all my life, so singing was always in the family. I was always up on stage with him. I hosted karaoke's with him. Obviously, the football stuff is that was pretty much all my life. So I think they're passion projects more than just kind of trying my hand at stuff. I don't really do things like even this interview today. I would do because I'm passionate about football. I enjoy it, and obviously story, I guess, but I wouldn't just do a random interview because if I didn't know what I was talking about,
Yeah. Well, see, that was what I was going to ask. That was actually my next question, was just kind of how did you get into Westlife? Because that obviously went on to be a huge success. I mean, the known worldwide. Successful worldwide. Well, it started for the lads in Sligo. The boys went to school together, and they had done. They set up a band called IOU. I mean, this probably story's well documented, but they took it to Louis Walsh, who was managing Boyzone at the time, and held auditions in Dublin, and that fit into just when I was telling the story there about leaving Cove Ramblers. I was doing my leave there that summer, and an audition came up. It was advertised on 98 FM, and I decided to go along and sing a couple of songs. And Louis Walsh was was helping out with the auditions, and he decided to pick myself and Byrne and a couple of other guys to show for the Westlife auditions. And that's pretty much how it started. And within that would have been June or July of 97. And then it kicked off from there. We went to 98 would have been, excuse me. And then we all of a sudden we were in the studio with Steve Mack, who is now one of the biggest songwriters in the world. And by Christmas we were touring with Boyzone, and by March we had Swear Again out, and that was number one. And then I literally wasn't home for months on end at that point. It just kind of kicked off. Yeah, we can see obviously because you were on tour so much and you were doing stuff that you would forget about football easily enough. Especially it's not as much, again, I go back to social media. It's a lot easier now just pick up a phone and get a result. Obviously back then it was. You can get notifications if your favourite team scores or if your team lineup, hits as soon as it's announced. As soon as the manager, submits the team sheet, you've got it on your phone. It's a different world. But I also think I suppose it's a boy. We're feeling sorry about when football so much. For me, I was told, and the height restriction was up for me, and even going to England, Leeds would be monitoring my height, and I would be constantly comparing myself to whether it was Paul goalkeepers, my goalkeepers, my favourite keepers in the world, and still to this day, I always have a soft spot for the keepers who aren't 6'6". If you look at kind of Casillas, Shea Given, that type of height, I think, is actually a perfect height for a goalkeeper. You're going to have exceptions. You're going to have something like Peter Schmeichel, who's 6'4", and he's incredible goalkeeper. But I suppose I don't agree a lot of the time with people just picking goalkeepers on height. That annoys me, still annoys me. And I see it even at a young level. I see it at a senior level. I see it at a pro level. People go, oh yeah, he's big, he's strong, he's this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, but is he a goalkeeper? Is he good? And that's,
first and foremost for me. It's very important nowadays you can play with your feet. I mean, that's 100%. But also,